All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 278 or 279, I'm pretty sure, of the Restoring Rapport podcast. It's a podcast for young believers pursuing the goal of marriage and family, trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way according to God's design. My name is Seth Hensley. I come on the show twice a week, every week on Thursday and Sunday to discuss not only the benefits of getting married young, but I try to equip and encourage you in your pursuit of that goal. And today, as you can see on your screen, we're going to be picking up where we left off in the last episode on our read through of the Song of Songs and what marriage advice we can glean from this book that too many people don't read. And so this is kind of probably one of the most unpopular books of the Bible, I think. And we're picking up with the bride's troubled dream. And we're probably going to do chapters 3 and 4 today. And again, just talk about any marriage advice that we can possibly glean from this chapter. And then I think what I want to do after this is go through the book of Proverbs and do the same. Yeah, and so without further ado, let's go ahead and pick up where we left off. If you didn't listen to the last episode, go do that. And please give me a YouTube comment what you think of these videos. I would love to hear from you and make this podcast a conversation instead of a monologue. And I appreciate your, the time that it would take for you to do that. So moving on, it's the bride's troubled dream. On my bed night after night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but did not find him. And then it says, I must arise now and go around in the city, in the streets, and in the public squares. I must seek him whom my soul loves. I'm pretty sure at this point in the story, they are the Shulamite and the bridegroom king are not, or the bridegroom shepherd are not married yet. And then I think it's either this chapter or the next one, they get married. Moving on though. Verse 3, the watchmen who make the rounds in the city found me, and I said, have you seen him whom my soul loves? Hardly had I left them when I found him whom my soul loves. I held on to him and would not let go until I had brought him to my mother's house and into the room of her who conceived me. And then it switches to the groom's perspective here. He says, swear to me, you daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or by the does of the field, that you will not disturb or waken my love until she pleases. And I think kind of the idea there, that gets used a lot to tell young people not to date, but really I think kind of the context, I mean, at least in the context of the story, as far as I can see, is that she's been having a troubled dream about basically not being around him enough and not being around the one in whom her soul delights. And so he's praying that she would have better sleep before they get married. That, which is totally, I don't know, for us to use it the way we do, I think is completely taken out of context. We use it we use the term sleep here metaphorically to mean like basically don't start dating young is kind of how people use this verse. But obviously that's not what it's talking about at all here. I mean, these people are not just dating, they're engaged, they're betrothed. There is no dating in the Bible, and I've talked about this before. And I think that in itself, if you're a young believer who recognizes the validity and credibility of the scriptures, then maybe that kind of lends itself to the idea that maybe we shouldn't have dating, and dating is not that great of an idea or an experiment. And instead, betrothal, which is the scriptural model for getting married, is the better route. And again, so in this context, he is not saying this passage is not saying that you should not start dating young. I mean, even in Proverbs, we see things like the Bible in Proverbs 5 saying that we should delight in the wife of our youth, and that he who finds a good thing obtains favor from the Lord. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And so delighting in the wife of your youth is a good thing. It's not like you should put it off into an older age. Instead, what this passage is saying, it's basically describing the angst that you can have when you're apart from the person that you love. And this is something that I really understand as a married man now. I don't like to spend the night away from my wife. I mean, I would be not only very lonely, but it would feel like part of me was missing. It would feel like I didn't have my arm or something, a very vital part of either my body, my mind, my emotions. It would feel like that was absent from me. And of course, that makes sense if you buy another scriptural passage that Paul talks about where the husband and wife become one flesh upon getting married and continue to become one flesh as they stay married. And of course, it's not that they're spending their years fighting over which one that they become. It's that they're becoming a whole unit instead of two parts of a unit. And you don't feel good when you're away from your partner if you have a good marriage. You feel really, really bad. It's because you need that person. You rely on them in a lot of ways. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 talks about man not being independent of woman and woman not being independent of man. Man coming out of woman and woman being made from man in the beginning and all originating from God. And so that's describing just a very interdependent system that the relationship between the sexes is. It's not like you just don't need each other, and you really, really need each other in the context of a union, or when you just love somebody and you're moving towards that goal with them, and that's completely normal and healthy. And that's what we're seeing described here in Song of Songs, chapter 3, Song of Songs, or Song of Solomon, whichever term you prefer. But this is the wedding day. This next subheading is the wedding day, Solomon's wedding day. The bride, it says Solomon's wedding day, but again, in our last week's research, we did read that we don't know that that the bridegroom and the bridegroom shepherd and the bridegroom king, who becomes the bridegroom king, I'm pretty sure in this book, we don't know that that's referring to Solomon, particularly because it's not really describing how Solomon did romance. Solomon had 700 wives, 300 concubines, and he didn't really have a monogamous relationship that and a lot of the back and forth chase that is involved and described in this story. So we don't know that this is talking about Solomon. Solomon could be another figure, the narrator in the story. He could be another figure. We don't really. Some people have lots of different opinions on who Solomon is in the story, but this translation, the NASB, seems to be saying that Solomon's wedding day is what this is referring to. Moving on, though, this is the bride speaking. He says, "What is coming up from the wilderness like columns of smoke perfumed with myrrh and frankincense, with all the scented powders of the merchant?" And of course, I think what you're going to see here in a second is this is the caravan of the bridegroom king. And kind of what this shows here is that he's coming for her. He's not like waiting around. He's not like postponing this marriage. He's not like moving as slow as he can towards this goal. His entourage is full steam ahead right now, and that's really what I think you should be, figuratively doing if you're actually entering marriage the right way. It's not something that you should be dreading. It's actually something that should be exciting, something that you should be looking forward to. You should, again, want to spend more of your life rather than less of your life with your partner if you're doing marriage right, and if you've made a good choice in your selection of a mate. And so, yeah, I think that the way this book of the Bible describes marriage is not how most people describe marriage. Like when people say, like they talk about marriage as a ball and chain today. That's not the Song of Songs description of marriage at all. That's actually kind of polar opposite of it. Here we see the man coming for his bride with all speed, and he's going straight there. There's dust flying up from the road. That's the visual image that's being presented here. The chorus says, "Behold," so this is all the daughters of Jerusalem, I believe, is the chorus. "Behold, it is the traveling couch of Solomon, 60 warriors around it. Of all the warriors of Israel, all of them are wielders of the sword, expert in war. Each man has his sword at his side, guarding against the terrors of the night. King Solomon has made for himself a cedar chair from the timber of Lebanon. He made its posts of silver, its back of gold, and its seat of purple fabric, with its interior lovingly inlaid by the daughters of Jerusalem. Go out, you daughters of Zion, and look at King Solomon with the crown with which his mother has crowned him on the day of his wedding and on the day of the joy of his heart." Listen to that, guys. So this is not some begrudged sort of just, what's the word? Just something that you do when you're resigned. This is not a begrudged resignation. This wedding day is a joy of this king's heart. Okay, this is the day that he's been looking for. This is the day, if you go up and look around here, that he's surrounded himself with fellow men moving into this day. That's kind of supports the idea of how we have bridegrooms and bridegrooms, not bridesmaids and groomsmen today in our wedding tradition, our modern wedding tradition, just going into this reinforced by community and people who are have your back and who are strong and who are, and listen to this, all of them are wielders of the sword, experts in war. I think what we can take from this passage is, man, the people that you surround yourself with going into your wedding day need to really be able to fight anything that would seek to disrupt your marriage, protect your marriage. That's kind of the whole idea here, is protecting you into your marriage. Like this guy's literally on his way to get married, and he has this entourage of very capable people, not only helping him towards that goal, but protecting him from anything that would seek to stop him in his journey to get to that goal. That's kind of figuratively what we as young husbands need to have. Like, And I just think of this like, what are the things? And it's not like there's going to be physically somebody that probably tries to stop you from getting married. That's probably not going to happen. But there are lots of things that people will say, and there are lots of, for lack of a better word, forces, principalities, powers, spirits, evils that will come against you in your endeavors to get married that you have to have protection against. And if you have people that are helping you do that, I think you're all in a way better situation. So what can we learn from this passage? He's moving towards this. He's praying for the safe dreams of his wife until he's able to take care of her. He's praying for her to, what was the word? Not be awakened. And what else did she not be disturbed? That was the other language. So he's praying for her not to be disturbed, not to be awakened, and be basically suffering in her nightmares, as what it's described above, while he's unable to be with her. And he's coming to this marriage with people backing it up, with people backing him up in that goal. He's traveling in. He's not like drudging his feet. There's dust flying off the road. He is moving with all speed. And what else? Oh, it's describing the thought that went into this. Listen to these verses. He made its posts of silver. He made himself a seat and chair from the timber of Lebanon. And the seats are of purple fabric with interior lovingly inlaid by the daughters of Jerusalem. So this is like describing the effort that goes into the marriage here. And I think, again, this is not necessary. This could be taken both metaphorically and just literally, because you do put in a lot of work financially, like you literally blood, sweat, and tears into getting money that you need to get married. So there's that aspect of it. Like, you prepare, you work for it, you do your best as a man to provide for your family. So there's that aspect of it. And then there's also the spiritual and emotional side, where you have done the maturity work, and you're not just presenting your wife with a husband who is in bad shape spiritually or emotionally. You've actually done the work necessary to provide for her in that department as well. And so it's kind of like this guy has done the work to make his new bride's wife easy once they have been married. Okay? It's like, this is describing the time and thought and effort that goes into marriage, or at least should. And again, this is describing a good marriage. This book is not one of those books that it shows you how people have done marriage wrong. The Song of Songs is a book about showing you how marriage is done correctly and what a good connection with your partner is. That's really what this book is about. Let's see here. It talks about the King Solomon with the crown with which his mother has crowned him, bringing in your parents into this purpose. So like having it, and I know not everybody has a good connection with their parents, but if it's at all up to you, make every effort to live at peace with all men, to be holy, for without holiness no one pleases God. I think there's kind of an idea there of like, if it's up to you, please make your parents involved in your marriage and preserve the family connection and strengthen the family instead of fragment the family with this union. That's kind of the idea there. Like, his mother has his back. His mother's purposed him with this goal in mind since she raised him. She hasn't raised him. She hasn't crowned him to be anything other than a bridegroom. She has crowned him with that purpose in mind. And again, that goes into, I did an episode a long time ago about, should we raise our children to be spouses? And a lot of people today are raising their children with the option of either being a spouse or not being a spouse, when in reality, children don't need a bunch of options. They need you to show them the way. Because if you don't show them the way, someone else will. It's not like they just choose of their own volition where they go. They're influenced by a lot of parties, and it's designed. Parents have the opportunity to be the greatest source of influence in their child's life because of the amount of love, affection, care, and time spent with them and invested into them. But oftentimes we completely pass up on that and give other people the opportunity to influence and impact and improve the course of our children's life. And I just think that's a huge wasted opportunity. And you can see the woman in the story, the mother, is not doing that. And again, reading verse 11, and look at King Solomon with the crown with which his mother has crowned him on the day of his wedding and the day of the joy in his heart. So again, this is a joyous day. Just going through there, verse 11, this is a joyous day. So moving on to chapter 4, we're going to see, this is Solomon's love expressed. So he says in verse 1, how beautiful you are, my darling, how beautiful you are. And listen, you're never going to hear in this book, get that ad off your screen because I hate that. You're never going to hear in this book the bridegroom and the Shulamite, the bride, talk bad about each other. They never talk bad about each other. they are always like showering each other. The overwhelming theme is that they're showering each other with praises. That's the theme of this book, and that of course is the fruit of a good loving connection. So listen to how he talks about her here. He says, "How beautiful you are, my darling. How beautiful you are." Like, if that's not how you're talking about your partner, if you're instead saying a bunch of junk about them, like, I think that's a fruit of a bad tree. He says your eyes are like doves behind your veil. And again, let's recall here we watched that synopsis or that overview of the Song of Solomon by a Bible expert before we started this, and this is not a visual like metaphor. This is not describing how the woman's eyes looks. This is describing qualities about her and about her characteristics and about their nature and comparing them to other things with those characteristics. So again, like if he says your neck is like a tower, he's not saying it is tall and long and made of brick. He's saying it is sturdy, it is reinforced, it is present, it is there for many years, it is strong, it is, that kind of stuff. Moving on, he says, your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats that have descended from Mount Gilead. He's not saying that her hair actually looks like a flock of goats descending the hill. What he's making, I don't even know what that one is about. I'm assuming there's something in the culture that they would have known. And again, somebody more knowledgeable than me on this book you could probably Google it and figure out what that means. But I think he's describing something about a characteristic about her and comparing it to positive things in the culture of the time to make a point. He says your teeth are like a flock of newly shorn sheep which have come up from their watering place, all of which bear twins, and not one among them has lost her young. So he's describing like fertility here. Just basically the good life is what I'm hearing. He says your lips are like a scarlet thread and your mouth is beautiful, your temple. So he's describing literally every part of her body here. He's just going down. And again, he's not saying anything bad here. He's saying he's actually going way above and beyond and being very lavish and expressive in how he describes his wife. And I just think that's a good thing too. Some people will call you cheesy for having a romance like this, but I think, hey, do you want the romance where you're both over the top for each other, or do you want a romance where there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of affection as far as fruit goes? And I think that's an easy choice. But he says your lips are scarlet red and your mouth is beautiful. Your temple is like a slice of pomegranate behind your veil. Your neck is like a tower of David. So here's the exact example I gave. I'm not saying, I won't go through it again, but it says built with layers of stones on which are hung 1,000 shields. So what's the idea here? That it's strong. There's a lot that she's a strong woman. She's a very strong woman. It says all the round shields of the warriors. Your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle that graze among the lilies until the cool of the day when the shadows flee. I will go my way to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. So there he's describing his desire for her body in a very explicit way. Now, this is something that Christians don't often have fond words for, but I mean, there it is in your Bible. So it's a good thing to delight in the wife of your youth, and to be attracted to every single part of her body. There it is. I mean, you can go. There's a scriptural vision for marriage that is not, and again, like, I don't know why we do that, but like, that should be how marriages, when you think marriage, that's what you should think of. And too many of us think of divorce rates and misery and the death of your sex life and all this crap that is not even true about marriage. That's just true of the bad marriages. And what's really, I mean, what the biblical vision of marriage here is this. This is what the biblical marriage, and this is completely possible. Like, this is completely possible to have on the other side of marriage. He says, you are altogether beautiful, my darling, and there is no blemish in you. Altogether beautiful, no blemish. So he is obsessed. He's obsessed, okay? And he's showering her with praise, okay? Nothing bad here. Ask yourself about that. Like, what's the ratio of my words about my partner? Am I, like, constantly nitpicking, criticizing, casting blame, throwing shade? Or am I pointing out everything good about her and being lavish in my praise of her and not saying anything bad about her? He says here there is no blemish in you. He has no complaints. He has no complaints. That needs to be how you talk about your partner. Verse 8 says, "Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. You shall come with me from Lebanon. You shall come down from the summit of Amana, from the summit of Senir and Hermon, from the dens of lions, from the mountains of leopards. You have enchanted my heart, my sister, my bride. You have enchanted my heart with a single glance of your eyes, with a single strand of your necklace." So he's describing here just how deep his love is for her and what she the hold that she has on him and his heart, and the this is just infatuation. This is all this. And then again, some people will slam. A lot of times in the Christian community, infatuation gets a bad rap because we've seen people make decisions based solely on infatuation and nothing else. And of course, that ends in disaster. But infatuation itself is a good thing when it's paired with wisdom. Verse 10 says, "How beautiful is your love, my sister, my bride. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. How beautiful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much sweeter is your love than wine." Again, just comparing. All this book is a perfect representation of marriage with how many good parallels and metaphors it draws to good things in life and the relationship that a man and woman can have with each other. It says, "And the fragrance of your oils, that then that of all kinds of balsam oils. Your lips drip honey, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue, and the fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon." A locked garden is my sister, my bride. A locked spring, a sealed fountain. What's the idea here? This is the idea that she has incredible value. She is valuable in every way, okay? And that it is not, that she has protected value. She has not sort of like, what's the word? Not everybody has equal access to her. So she has not just, I'm trying to say this in a way that's not offensive or anything. She has a lot of value, but not everybody has it. Okay, here's how I'll describe it. If I just realized that the back of that monitor is there in the frame there. I'm going to move that out so you can see a little better. Actually, I'm going to scoot the monitor back so you can see a little better. There we go. It's out of frame now. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to the video I'm producing, because I put a lot of work into this, so I don't want to get to the end and then there would be a big glaring problem like that. But the idea here is that if I gave the next woman everything that I give my wife, I'm a bad husband. It's not me being generous. It's not me being liberated. It's not me being, free. It's me loving other people as much as I love my wife, which is wrong. Okay? Not everyone should have equal access to you. Not everyone should have the valuables that you have to offer. You should not throw your pearls before swine. Instead, you should have all of that value, cultivate all of that value, know that value, and protect that value, and give that value to someone. Absolutely. Don't keep it to yourself, but don't give it to everybody either. It's kind of like your heart. This is kind of like talking about your heart. If you give your heart to everybody, it's going to get broken a lot. But if you give it to one person and you make you have make a right decision, a wise decision, an informed decision, man, your life is going to flourish. You will know joy and true happiness. But you have to do it right. You have to do it right. He's describing her here, continuing. It says, "Your branches are like an orchard of pomegranates with delicious fruits, henna and nard plants, nard and saffron, spice, reed, and cinnamon, with all the trees of frankincense, myrrh, and aloes, along with the finest balsam oils. You are a garden spring, a well of fresh water, a flowing stream." Streams, I don't know why it says plural there, but a flowing streams from Lebanon. And then it's the bride's turn. This is her response. She says, "Awake, north wind, and come wind of the south. May my garden breathe out fragrance. May its balsam oils flow. May my beloved come into his garden and eat its delicious fruits." So again, you see the idea here that this garden, this value has not been maintained for only her. This has not been something that is never to be given to somebody. This is not something that is never made for anybody. This is made for somebody. This is made to be given away, but it's made to be given away in the proper context and to one person instead of 50. And again, this is not, a lot of people have this baggage with purity culture, and they'll hear my words as like condemning people who have fornicated or had sex outside of marriage and then gotten married. And then I'm not saying anything about their value. I'm not saying that there's no redemption from that. I'm not saying that you're any less valuable than the next person. But what I'm saying is there's a lot less consequences on your marriage and on your sex life if you do it the way they're describing here. And this is, of course, the whole value to purity itself and not fornicating, is you don't come into your permanent romance with all of this baggage that is brought in by, I mean, we listen, we guys, you have enough baggage coming into your future, your marriage, if you've had previous relationships, without any inkling of sexual presence in those past relationships. Like, there's already enough baggage. You can do nothing sexual in your failed dating relationships of the past, and there's still going to be baggage. So like, I'm all about like trying to minimize that baggage and prevent you from bringing in that baggage by basically hitting it on the first shot and getting married to the first person that you date, and therefore being very careful about who you date. But basically, that's just the whole idea behind purity. It's not like slamming someone's value who has failed in this area. Lots of people fail in this area. It's a major human. It's like a common human flaw. Like, everybody makes mistakes in this area. It's no, but for like, let he is who is perfect throw the first stone, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Like, those verses are very clear. We shouldn't be pointing fingers, pulling out the speck from our brother's eye before examining the plank in our own. I'm not the purity culture. I don't. It's not like, I think purity culture has gotten a bad. I don't know. It depends on who. Was it? A lot of people perceived it that way. Was it that was that the message that it was really preaching? I don't know for a fact. Probably there were people erring on both sides, but I was just trying to kind of reconcile that. It's like, there are amazing benefits that come from not giving yourself sexually to other people before you get married. There's amazing benefits from that. That being said, it's also you're not irredeemable or less valuable or less redeemed or less forgiven or less lovable or less anything good if you have made mistakes in that department before you get married. So those things can be simultaneously true. And it's not like you can throw one or the other out, or should throw one or the other out, because that's when you run into consequences about that. So yeah. Pretty good chapters today. I'm looking forward to 5, 6. I believe there's 8 chapters in this book. So we'll probably do this a couple more weeks, and then we'll jump into Proverbs. Thank you guys so much for listening today. Give me your thoughts. Give me your comments through the YouTube show notes on what you thought of the marriage advice in this book, and I will talk to you guys next time.